Hello everybody, John Teacher here at your service. Now, what are we going to do today in this video? Well, I was thinking of doing quantifiers. So, quantifiers being much, many, a lot of, and lots of. And they're all used to talk about quantities, amounts, and degrees. But how do they differ? Well, let's take a look. Starting with much. So much is usually used with questions and negatives, and they're used with uncountable nouns like water, coffee, juice, fish, and money. But if you don't remember what an uncountable noun is, just think of something that you don't want to count, or you're just too lazy to count, or you just can't count. Basically, that's probably the best way to describe it. You just can't count it. For instance, question. How much sand is on this beach? And the answer is probably going to be, I'm not going to count all this sand on the beach. Are you joking? All right, so, or another example. There is too much sugar in my tea. And you can't really count how much sugar is in the tea because it's dissolved, it's liquid. All right. Now, how about this example? How much time do you need? So if you're going to answer that question, you're probably going to be able to count the amount of time that you require. So you're probably going to say something like, I don't know, I need 3 hours, 1, 2, 3. But the person asking the question is using an uncountable noun and therefore needs to use that quantifier much to actually complete that question. All right. So like in this example, I haven't got much money. How much money do you have? Again, I have $10. I can count them. So I can count the money. But when we ask the question, the person asking the question has to use the quantifier much because money is generally uncountable if we think about it in a hypothetical way. Yeah, we'll get back to that in another video, I think. Anyway, let's move on to many. Many is used with plural countable nouns, which could be tables, cars, dogs, books, cities, and so on. So countable nouns are things that you can count easily. So maybe with your fingers you can say 1 car, 2 tables, 3 bees, 4 bananas. And then you can ask questions like this. How many tables are in the classroom? I can count 10 tables in the classroom, so I'm counting them. How many bananas are there on the tables in the classroom? Well, each table has 1 banana for each student in the classroom. Okay, so like much, many is also used with questions and negatives. So for example, there aren't many lions left in the wild. Bit negative. Are there many swimming pools in your town? And you could probably say, yes, there are many. Or you could be like negative and say, no, there aren't many. Like I just said, you can actually use many with affirmative sentences too. So we've got some more examples here. There are many stars in the sky at night. We saw many birds at the park today. That's a good thing. He can count how many apples are in the basket. Good job. There are many colours in the rainbow. So we just have to remember that many is used when we're talking about things that have large numbers, or we can count them at least. Now, I wasn't sure if I was going to include this, but let's just talk about collective nouns. All right. So you can use many with collective nouns. If you don't know what collective nouns are, think of groups of things, right? So a flock of birds. Flock is that collective noun, right? A pack of wolves. Pack is the collective noun. A swarm of bees. Swarm is the collective noun, all right? So just bear that in mind. So let's look at these examples. So team, a collective noun. Here's a sentence. There are many teams participating in the football tournament. Flock, like we saw before. We saw many flock of birds migrating south for the winter. Family. There are many families living in our neighbourhood. Audience. There were many audiences watching the live performances at the music festival. Losing my words. So, you could also use sentences like these. During the summer, the park was buzzing with many swarms of bees. There are many dogs living in many cities across the country. All right. So what about these two? A lot of and lots of. Now, are they different? Why are they different? Well, okay, look. A lot of can be used with both plural countable nouns and singular uncountable nouns. All right. And that sounds like a magical cure for everything. So it's like, does that mean I don't have to learn how to use much and many? Because why should I? Why should I divide them? Well, you might be able to, but I wouldn't advise it because it wouldn't sound always natural to do it that way. Okay. So a lot of and lots of are commonly used in conversational English, and that's the key here. All right. So you could change the following sentence like this. You can do it from like this. Last week, I went shopping and I spent much money, which is what they teach in books. I've seen it. But it doesn't sound very natural. It sounds much better like this. Last week, I went shopping and I spent a lot of money. That sounds much better. And if you want to be even more casual in your speaking, if you're like chatting to a very close friend or just even like friends that you don't know very much actually, you can say, yesterday I went shopping and I spent lots of money and now I'm really broke. So that's the thing. You can really, yeah. All right, anyway, let's get back onto that another time. So if you ask a question like this, you're probably expecting a large number in the answer. Yes, that was a little note to myself. So if you're asking a question with a lot of, you would say, am I getting a lot of candies for Christmas? And the answer would be like, yes. Okay. So it's kind of a casual question with high expectations, and you're hoping that the number is going to be big. Or another one like this. Were there lots of people at the zoo today? And wow, I was at the zoo today. I had lots of fun. And I'll say, yes, lots of people. Yeah. So anyway, let's just summarize this very simply. So let's just start with much again. We use much when we don't know how much of something there is and we can't count it. All right. Like coffee, you can't count it, right? But you can say, is there much coffee in the mug? Many, we use many for things that we can count, like peaches. One of my favorite fruits. So you can count peaches. So you can ask, how many peaches are in the basket? And I could respond, well, there are too many peaches because I'm too lazy to count them. You could do that too. All right. What about a lot of or lots of? Right. So these are basically like conversational fun words, and we can use them when there's a big amount of something. And it can be things like that we can count or things that we can't count. All right. So like, we have a lot of candy, or there is a lot of sand at the beach. All right. In negative questions, when much and many are used, it's usually expected that a large quantity of something isn't there. All right. So when a lot of and lots of are used in the question, it's usually expected that there'll be a large quantity of something in the response. So if we go back to much and many, there isn't much water left in the well. So that's kind of like a negative response. Or you can actually combine these and say, are there a lot of cakes left at the bakery? And the answer could be, actually, there aren't many left at all. So you could do that as well. So what I'm going to do is eventually give you another video like this with many more examples. But for now, what I'll do is I'll leave you with that and also ask you, if I do a future video, I could do something with hypotheticals. So for instance, if I had much money, I would travel the world. So if you want a video like that, then let me know. Anyway, I hope this one helps. I know it's very short and very brief, but let me know if you have any other questions in the comments. And if you like what I'm doing, please subscribe and like and all that business. I'll see you next time. Peace.